Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to start with a little bit of plank preparation. So I like to do this just as a way to just warm up the arms a little bit and take a bit of strain into the arms, taking a bit of body weight into the arms, keeping the elbows slightly bent and the neck long. I'm just going to pad my hands backwards and forwards. And you can do this with the knees on the floor, or you can do this as a little bit more of a challenge on the core with the knees off the floor. So I'm just going to go out a bit further each time. And then eventually I'm going to work my way out to plank position. So as I say, you can have your knees on the floor here, or you can have the knees off the floor, depending on how you're feeling. And I'm just going to either hold it here for a bit. If you've got the knees on the floor, you could have a go at just lifting alternate knees. So you're really thinking about keeping that neck long, shoulders pressing down, elbows bent. You can have a go at lifting up both knees. Keeping the belly button lifted up through to the spine, lifting in the pelvic floor. Or you can lift up both knees off the floor, keep the knees lifted, have a little play around with alternate leg lifts, depending on how you're feeling. Loads of different variations of the plank. Some that I also like, bringing the knees in and then taking them to the side. Okay, so there's loads of variations. And then having a little seat back in child's pose. So that's just a really good way just to get the arms a little bit warmer in preparation for some of the weight bearing exercises. So go at your level, knees on the floor or off the floor. Never do anything that feels too intense, too painful, etc. All right. So now we're going to get on to the Superman, quite a frequently used movement in Pilates. Not strictly a Pilates movement developed by Joseph Pilates himself, but Joseph Pilates did develop a lot of his movements using, for soldiers, who were in rehabilitation after wars, after the war in the early 1900s. And he'd adapted the hospital beds into the reformers that we will now see in many lovely Pilates studios. So using these bands is another way to adapt maybe the movement that he created originally, as a way to recreate that at home. So I'm just, the Superman, as you've probably seen, usually is alternate limbs, extending out, lifting, hands under shoulders, knees underneath hips, belly button lifted up to the spine and a nice flat back. So that's just the basic Superman, but I'm now going to bring the resistance band into play, breathing in, prepare. And I'm going to do 4 on one side, 4 on the other. Nice and smooth and slow and controlled. And you can adjust the amount of tension you've got in the band. So if you find that you can't really lift your hand up, you can take your hand a bit further away from you so you can extend out further, keeping the focus down on the mat. That elbow of the supporting arm is still slightly bent. Okay, and then I'd repeat that, moving the band over to the other side. And repeating on the other side. I won't bore you with me going through repeating on the other side. Another lovely movement is threading the needle. So again, we usually do this rotating, opening up, breathing in, and then breathing out. And you can either bend that supporting arm, or you can keep it straight and feeding the arm through, but try not to take your weight back as you feed it through. Try to keep the weight forward. Okay, so I'll just show you this on the other side. So now we're going to do this with the band. I'm just going to tilt my screen up a tiny little bit so you can see what I'm doing with the extended arm. So we're going to breathe in, prepare, belly button to spine, and breathe out. breathe in as you feed the arm through. You can breathe either way. So 4 on one side, 4 on the other. When I say breathe in either way, you could either breathe out here, breathe in as you feed through, or you could breathe in as you rotate and breathe out. And as ever, working with the breath. So really filling the lungs with air, making sure you get the most of that breath. And as you're exhaling, I always like to think about the movement, just continuing, feeding through until all the air has left the lungs, and only then do I open up back to the ceiling. So there we go. There's some 4-point kneeling ideas for you. Now I'm going to come onto my tummy. So lowering down onto the tummy, and this time using the band behind me, I'm going to breathe in, prepare, and as I breathe out, I'm just going to guide my hands down the bottom to the tops of the thighs. And if you want to here, you can give the band a little stretch to help you breathe in lower and completely relax down. Now your belly button is lifted as much as possible up off the floor. Forehead down towards the mat. And then I'm going to hold it here. So maybe you could do 8 of the slow ones. And then I'm going to hold it here. And I'm going to pulse out 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 2, 1, and low down. And that's just working the muscles down the back, all the way down the back. And it's working the muscles in the tops of my arms as I'm pulling the band away. It's really quite a powerful one, that one. There's other little versions that you can do on your tummy. For example, do you remember me talking about the loops? So you can use the resistance loops, or you can just tie the long band around your legs. But sometimes I get myself tied up in knots and I can't undo myself. So I'm going to use my loop here for the purpose of this video. Alright, so you're going to put that onto your lower legs. Sometimes it's a bit fun trying to manage this whole process of moving around when you've got a band on your legs. So we're going to go for leg lifts. Breathing in as the leg comes out, down. Breathing out. Keeping the forehead down to the mat. If you wanted to, you can keep the back extensions going on. So breathing in to come down. Breathing out. So you're working into the top of the hamstring, into the glutes here. So it's a really good one for toning. And also at the same time, if you're working with the torso lifting, working into the muscles at the back. And then as before, you can keep the leg lifted if you want to, keep the torso lifted, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep the belly button lifted, 2, 1. Breathe in, low down. Another leg, 8. Keep the breathing going. 3, 2, 1, and lowering down. Pushing your hips back to your heels. Stretching out into Taoist pose. In between these exercises is a really nice way of releasing off the tension down the back. So I'm going to keep my fingertips reaching forward, forehead down to the floor. And that lovely deep breath now really comes into play. If you fill your lungs with air, you'll feel your back and shoulders almost expanding and pressing upwards and outwards. Alright, so that's just another lovely way to work out in prone position, which is lying on your tummies. Now I'm going to go to side lying exercises. Again, keeping the band around mid-calf length, mid-calf height. Keeping it there. And we're going to go now with some top leg lifts. So again, the resistance band is just adding that extra pressure, that extra resistance to that muscle. So let me get this right. Abductor muscles bring the legs into the body. Adductors take the legs away. So no, that's wrong. ab is to take away, abduct. Take it away, of course. Adduct. Coming in. That's it. So you're keeping your belly button drawing through to the spine here, lifting in the pelvic floor, so that's the core element. For your alignment for these sideline exercises, you want to think about your waist lifting off the floor, off the mat. And a good way to think about that is think about your hip just gently pressing down and away from you. Because as soon as you let that hip go, you think you'll feel your rib cage kind of collapse onto the floor. But you want to keep that nice and long. Okay, so then you can go from here, you can take the leg forward and back. I normally work on a count of 8 repetitions. That's normally quite a good, nice, easy figure to go along. So there we go, going there, you go circles, 4 in one direction and 4 in the other direction. And then always in between you'll find that you get that sort of slight cramping feeling in this muscle here, because it really is going to be working there for you, all the muscles around the hips here. So it's a really good one at strengthening the hips and also working into the waist. And then, I mean, you can also keep the band there if you want to do the double leg lifts. Breathing in as the leg comes down, breathing out. If you're finding yourself a bit wobbly, you can put your hand in front of you here. You can have a go at lifting up, clearing the rib cage off the floor, breathing in to come down, belly button to spine, still lifting the pelvic floor, just to protect the core. And then if you want to, taking the arm up and over the head. So there's lots of variations there. You will be able to, gauge how many repetitions, how many different types of the exercise you want to do, as long as you do the same on the other side. So maybe don't overcomplicate it, because you may sort of lose count a little bit. Lovely way of stretching out here. If you keep the knee on the floor, hand on the hip, you just open the shoulder up. It kind of releases out the waist a little bit. You can bring the hand down here. Some people find that they might prefer to have like a cushion underneath their head when they're doing these sideline and exercises. It may not feel comfortable for the head, but as long as you've got your top hip over the underneath hip, top shoulder over the underneath shoulder. All right, so then I would repeat that on the other side. Some other options while we've got this around our legs here. Keeping the knees bent and keeping the feet in line with the bottom and up through the shoulders. And you can do some exercises, opening and closing. Thus so. You can have the feet lifted up. And that resistance band again is really going to work those muscles, and they're really going to tone up and strengthen up with that additional little bit of kind of resistance, really. It's the only way you can explain it, isn't it? Really, resistance. Yeah. You can bring the band down to the ankles as well. Keep the knees together, and you're just working across a slightly different section of the hip, so the muscles that turn the hip inwards. Alright, so there's loads of ideas there for you for when you're doing your sideline exercises. Another way that I use these bands is to help with ab exercises. Again, so many different variations, so many ways you can use these to help you as well in the abdominal exercises. So the resistance band doesn't always have to be extra hard work. It can also be like, oh, that feels really nice. So a lovely way to use these resistance bands is to help them control abdominal exercises. So you can still work on your abdominals. You can still work on things like the full Pilates roll up and down. So the full Pilates roll up, I should show you how it looks without the band. So it's a nice deep breath in, and we're going to breathe out and power up. Nice flat back at the top, breathe in at the top, curve in the back, C shape in the spine, breathe in at the bottom, breathe out. Okay, so that's the full roll up and roll down, and the bands are just, a really nice way just to help you out with that process. So I'm going to just start here just to demonstrate, and you may need to make sure you've got maybe a bit of a longer band and a bit, maybe the lighter band, because you want to be able to roll down, breathe in the bottom, and come all the way up without kind of getting stuck because the band's too short or what have you. So you might want to test that out first. Okay, then we've also got the option, so that I would actually suggest before you do the full roll up and roll down is that you do a little bit of gentle abdominal warm up first. So a nice way to do that is curving the spine. You could do the halfway down. So with the knees bent, it just takes the pressure off a little bit. The heels dug down into the floor here. I don't know if you can see my feet. Breathing in, prepare, belly button, spine. Breathe out, halfway down. Breathe in to come up. Breathe out, halfway down. Curving in the spine. Breathe in to come up. Breathe out, halfway down. Okay, so again, working on a guide of maybe 8 of those. You can then go halfway down, and you can just hold here if you want to. You can have a little pulse if you want to. One version that I like doing, so trying to then flatten your back out, so in a bit of a V shape from the tops of your knees down to the tops of your shoulders. Breathing in, prepare, belly button, spine, lifting the pelvic floor. And as you breathe out, you're going to rotate round to the side and just pull the band, so you're bringing your hand towards your hip and you're rotating through the spine. Breathe in, centre. Breathe out, rotate. Breathe in, centre. Breathe out, rotate. Breathe in, centre. Breathe out, rotate. Okay, so you can count down 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not that fast. And then you can have a little pulse, 8, 7, 6. So you're also working into the arms a little bit here by pulling the band. And then the other side, little pulse is 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm sitting up nice and straight here again. From here, I also like to use the band to work into my feet. So also thinking here we are working on our posture, our alignment. So by doing these kind of exercises, again, some people find it hard to sit up straight. So you might want to put a little cushion underneath your bottom here. And that just, where sometimes people may have tighter hamstrings, they find it harder to be able to sit up straight here, and they may find that they're kind of rolling back on their tailbone a bit. But the idea is you want to find your bony bits in your bottom, so you can sit up with lovely straight alignment here. Okay, so I'm just going to turn around this way and see my feet. This is also a good little exercise, by the way. I can't remember what it's called, but I know we used to do that quite a lot in jazz dancing. Getting carried away. Alright, so here we go. So we're sitting up nice and straight here, and I'm just going to do, first off, just some leg lifts. Breathing in to come down, breathing out. So my band, I'm pushing into the band. You can bring the hands in a little bit closer if you want to. So I'm just working into the thigh here. And this is working not just the thigh, not just the quadricep here, but you're also thinking about the postural muscles, because you want to keep those shoulders back and down. And the tendency can be to suddenly start shortening in the upper body, but you really want to keep sitting nice and tall. And then, you can use the band, kind of cradling it in your feet to work on strengthening the feet. So there's obviously a good dancer one, so really rotating, articulating through the joints, pushing the band away with the toes, working on the strength in the feet, and then keeping the heels together, working on the turnout muscles. Breathing in as the feet come in, breathing out, and all the time checking on that posture, because even while you're focusing on your feet, you'll find that you'll start maybe slouching back down. Okay, so sitting up nice and straight there. Alright, and then what else do we have? Then you can use this position also while you're here to do some more arm exercises. So if you didn't do these while you were standing up, you can use the band here to do some bicep curls. You can alternate. See? Then we can do it like a seated rowing. If you feel more comfortable to have the knees bent, please do. You know, you can still do these exercises. Elbows into waist. And then we can go with a seated row, so just adjusting the grip as if you're holding on to, you know, the rowing machines at the gym. So holding the band in fists with the palms facing down. Breathing in, prepare. As you breathe out, breathing in to extend, breathing out. And as ever, just keeping a little bit of bend in those elbows, so not locking the joints as you extend out. Keeping the shoulder blades pressing down, because the tendency can be also to start lifting the shoulders up. So you want to keep those shoulder blades pressing down. And then we're going to go with another little shoulder exercise, keeping the arms open, still a little bit of bend, breathing in, prepare. And we're going to open and close. So you come into a bit of a V shape with the arms, and my arms are pretty much about knee level, so they're not up high and they're not down low, they're just keeping it at knee level. And you should feel the shoulder blades drawing together as you open. And again, 4 to 8 reps, depending on how many different types of exercises you want to get in. But I would say to really feel the benefit, try for 8. And then maybe you can progress to 10. But it depends how long you have for your workout, of course. So it's entirely up to you. And then we also, of course, have a tricep option. And triceps are, I've always struggled with toning my triceps. I mean, I do a lot of plank and I feel that I've got the tone there. But, you know, it's also about muscle burning fat. Burning fat. You know, exercise types that will give you enough cardio to burn off fat as much as Pilates is about a little bit of fat burning. It's more about the tone, the flexibility of the muscles and the strength of the muscles. So yeah, during this lockdown period, I've definitely not managed to do as much fat burning types of movement as I'd like to have done. So before, when I was teaching in the leisure centres, and you know, we get access to the pools and the other classes and things like that, and I was a little bit lazy, so here I am. I find myself that I've got a slightly wobbly tricep or, you know, underarm situation going on, but a really lovely one to try with the triceps to help to tone them at least. Let's go, I'll go this way for you. So we're going to breathe in, holding the band, and again you gauge where it is, but you're trying to keep the elbow at the top nice and still. Breathing in as it comes down, breathing out, come up, 4 to 8 on each side, still sitting up nice and tall. You can do this standing up again if you're finding it hard to keep the posture seated. I hope you can hear me with my back to you. Breathing in to come down. Okay, so there's some nice arm exercises that you can try out. And then finally, I'm going to do some bridge movements. So I'm going to show you some variations of the bridge that you can have a go at. So let's have a go now. With the bridge, I like to use my loop band, or again, you can tie the band around your legs, and I'm going to put it just above my knees. Okay, so ideally now we'll have a little bit of a warm-up before we go into some of these slightly more endurance type bridge movements. So I'm going to just start with, so my feet are hip distance apart here, and I'm bringing my heels a bit closer in towards my bottom. Belly button is going to go down towards the floor as my lower back just imprints gently into the floor. I'm going to breathe in, prepare. As I breathe out, lower back presses down, tailbone starts peeling out, vertebrae by vertebrae. Hips up as high as it feels comfortable for you. And then I'm going to breathe in as I come down. Chest and rib cage heavy into the mat, lower back touches down into the floor. And then I'm going to do this maybe 4 times just to warm up the spine. And then down. Alright, so that's that was my 4th time, for example. And then I'm going to peel up again, and this time, a nice way to get a little bit more height, keeping that belly button through to the spine, I'm going to bring my arms up and over my head. So you're keeping your pelvic floor lifted, your belly button drawing through to the spine, breathing in, prepare. And as I breathe out, I'm going to just lift a knee. Breathing in, lower down, and breathe out, change. Breathing in, lower down, and change. Okay, so this is just kind of a very simple variation. Then we can have a go at lengthening the legs. So you might want to peel down in between and roll up again. So now I'm just going to go with 4 leg lifts. Always keeping the hips lifted as much as you can, so just keep reminding yourself to keep the hips lifted. And then I'm going to go on the left. Breathing in as the leg comes down. Really using that breath. In through the nose and out through the mouth, keeping the hips lifted. Foot goes down, hips up one last time. If you can bear it, and you'll really feel this now in your bottoms, it's brilliant. So those glutes, and I'm going to peel all the way back down, those glutes will really feel that. And then tailbone touches down. Release the pelvis back into neutral, so that's when you release the spine off the floor, you'll find your pelvis then, I don't know if you can see that little, very slight movement. That's the difference between the tailbone tilting back and then releasing off. I mean, just in itself, this is a lovely exercise. Finally, another idea. You can also try with your bottom on or off the floor, and just letting the knee just fall out to the side. And the key is here, as with many of these exercises, is that it's just the leg moving. So you don't want the leg to fall out and everything else to go with it. You want to make sure that you can keep the knee of the static leg and the pelvis stable. You can also have a go at leg circles. I mean, the band doesn't necessarily support the action there, but the challenge is always keeping the pelvis and the rest of the body as smooth, stable as possible. Oh, good, that felt good. And then again, releasing, once you've released the band, releasing the spine off, so hugging the head in towards the knees. Do what you want to here. A little rock from side to side, rotating round and then knees, reversing back the other way. You can do knees going in opposite directions. I really am whizzing through this, but you know, you can just choose how you want to do this. And as with many Pilates exercises, you want to think of smooth, slow and controlled movement quality. And then I'm going to use my band just to help me in a final, so I'm going to go with the long band again, just in a final release out stretch, hugging the knee into the chest, looping the band around my foot, breathing in, and as I breathe out, stretching up to the ceiling. I'm going to hold it here for a good few breaths. I won't hold it here now for the purpose of this video, but you'll see how this is a nice little way to release out the backs of the legs. Hugging the knee into the chest. Using the band with this hamstring stretch is a really nice way, especially if you've got short hamstrings. It's a really nice way to help you relax into the floor, to help you lengthen out your neck, because quite often some people feel like they can't reach onto the leg, so they're holding up and their shoulders are lifted up and they've got all this tension coming to the neck, but the band will just allow you just to release down into the floor, release your shoulders down, keep the neck nice and long, and really use that breath. Nice deep breath in, and as you breathe out, trying to straighten the leg a little bit more if you haven't got a straight leg, or just trying to draw it in a little bit closer to you. For those of you who want to go a little bit more extreme stretch, you can use the band. Same band to the same arm as leg, taking it out to the side, and then taking it across, changing hands, and just keeping both hips on the floor. Just have a stretch on the outside of the leg there. Alright, so that's hopefully given you a few suggestions of how you can use the band to assist your Pilates workout at home. If you've got any questions on any of this, please do ask me, even if you want just to get me on a call or something like that, just to go through some of the exercises if you're not sure. And of course, still at the moment, whilst we're in this lockdown situation, I am offering Pilates lessons, paying what you can afford at the moment, and I'm putting some of the donations of the profits towards the Need Project in Bedfordshire. And so yes, if anyone is interested, please do get in touch with Dancing Mama Fitness. I'm Alison. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and yeah, leave some comments if you like it, if you managed to get to the end as well. It'd be good to hear from you. Alright, thanks everybody.